Welcome, everybody. Yes, my name is Philomena Schwab. As I said, as we've heard already, I'm the co-founder of Fawn Studio, which is a 10-people indie team. We're based in Zurich, Switzerland, and we have developed and self-published 2 profitable games. We mostly make procedurally generated simulation games with a scientific touch. So these are our 2 games. This is relevant because you will see that most of the examples in the talk will be based also on our own experiences. So the first one is called Niche Genetic Survival Game, which is a simulation game about population genetics, where you have a group of animals and you're basically trying not to go extinct. And the second one is called Nimbatus. It's a building game where you build drones out of hundreds of different parts and then you send them on missions. Currently, we're working on our third game, The Wandering Village, which is a city builder on the back of a giant wandering creature. So, cross-promotion, what exactly does that mean? So, in the context of this talk, I will be using the word just like very broadly in terms of if you and another developer are collaborating with each other or supporting each other in any way, and one of you or both of you are benefiting from it, then I'm calling it cross-promotion. So what is this cross-promotion thing exactly, and why should you do that with your games? So I don't know about you, but especially when our studio just started out with our first game, we didn't have a lot of budget. And so cross-promotion is just really a great zero-budget marketing technique where you and developers with similar games can profit from each other. We will see a lot of examples of how that actually works in a bit. So when I made this talk, I was wondering, do indie developers actually cross-promote? So is this a technique that is being used? And so I asked 100 solo devs and studios if they do it, and the result was this. So have you cross-promoted or collaborated with another developer in order to increase their or both games' marketing reach? And almost 65% said yes, they have done so multiple times. So this seems to be a common tactic in your marketing repertoire. Some have done it once, and about 30% have never done it. Yeah, and I also wondered if they were satisfied of their cross-promotion efforts, and most people seem to be very happy with the results, which encouraged me even further to investigate how they do it and how all these things work. So I asked all the people that said they had cross-promoted before and asked them what exactly they are doing with other developers to gain marketing profits from it. And these are the 4 most popular topics that came up, and we will look into 1 or 2 examples of each of them. So the first one on the list is shoutouts. This is probably the most common one, and it just means that you are making any kind of post, for example, on Twitter or on Reddit or wherever about your friend's game, about the other developer's game, right? So one example that we did is there's this game called Omno, and it had a Kickstarter campaign. I think it was about 2 years ago, and I made a Reddit post for them, just like, hey, a friend of mine is creating this beautiful adventure game all by himself. It took me like 5 minutes to make this post. And you can see that it had a very significant impact on his Kickstarter campaign. So the little red thing is the day when I made the Kickstarter post, the Reddit post. So I would say this 5 minutes of me just posting there brought him maybe around 5,000 euro. And so if you know other developers and you maybe know somebody who's very good with Reddit or very good with Imgur or 9gag or has a huge Twitter following, it can be very beneficial to just ask them if they will give you a shout out, because it can have a very big impact. Then the next one on the list is knowledge sharing. So this is another story from, I think this was our 2nd year as a company, and we were working on our 2nd game at the time. And I just found that it can be so valuable to chat with other developers and learn their strategies, because sometimes they tell you about something you never would have come up with yourself. So this is a story with Landfall Games. When I was attending the Nordic Games Conference, and we were just basically having lunch together, eating some tiny burgers, and we chatted a bit about how we approach our marketing, and they told me one thing, that at the time they basically had a demo for their game, and then they put that online, but if people wanted to play it, they had to sign up for their newsletter. And my mind was completely blown. This is not exactly a new marketing technique. This is something that you see in other industries also all the time, but for some reason I had never come across this specific idea. And so we decided to try this out and do it for our Kickstarter campaign that we just had with our second game. And then during that Kickstarter, we ended up getting about 55,000 newsletter subscribers. And that helped us so much to, in the end, have a much more successful Kickstarter campaign than we had anticipated. So basically what we did is we only promoted the free demo for the game and not the Kickstarter campaign at all. And then everybody who liked the game enough to sign up for the newsletter, we then let them know that there is a Kickstarter campaign. I wrote a very detailed article about how we did this. So if you want to read it, it's written there, strayfonstudio.com/insights. So next one on the list is themed sales. I'm sure you have seen them, for example, on Steam. So these are the two themed sales that I helped to organize. First one was the World Environment Day sale. So if you have, for example, a specific date, so for example, the World Environment Day, that's a fixed date in the calendar. And Steam usually is quite interested to have like themed sales that revolve around these kinds of days. So what we did is we asked a couple of nature game developers that are also like in a similar genre to us if they want to join together. And we sent the pitch to Valve with a couple of big games in it. And they said yes. And then I think it was a midweek madness that we got for this. And usually these featured Steam sales, especially if there is not a lot of games in there, so it was only maybe like 20 games, are quite effective in terms of selling copies. And then the second one, where I was the main organizer, was the Swiss game sale. So August 1st is basically the Swiss National Day. And we asked them if we could have, I think it ended up being a midweek madness as well. And so we basically just asked a lot of Swiss developers, and luckily there were a few bigger ones, so that Steam thought, okay, it's relevant enough if the farming simulator is a huge Swiss game, for example, joins in. And many smaller Swiss games have sold more during the Swiss game sale than they have before, like in their launch month or something. So this can really be a very effective way. And there's tons of examples on these kind of sales. It's not just Steam. My examples are mostly Steam because we do mostly PC games, but there's themed sales on consoles as well. Another cool example is Ludonaracon, where games that are like have a storytelling focus are coming together, but you can basically do this around any topic. So for example, there was one about tiny teams where it's only like 1 or 2 or 3 people in the team. So you only need to come up with something that might connect you in any way to other devs and try to put something together. Then the next one is tool sharing. This is one example that a good friend of mine is running. He's called Ben, and his studio is called Pixel Maniacs. I'm telling you because you can also sign up for his tool if you want to. You see his email up there, and you can just ask him if you want to join in. And it's basically a little tool that he wrote that sends you an email whenever somebody is streaming your game on Twitch, so that you don't miss out if a big streamer is playing your game and you want to jump into the chat and maybe explain a little bit about it or get in touch with him more easily. And all medium or bigger studios usually have some tools that they build over time, and usually they are very happy to share it. So if you're looking for something specific that you want to have or do, you can always just ask around in the indie community, and chances are high that somebody has already done it and is maybe willing to share it with you. Okay, so these were the most popular options out there that a lot of developers are already doing. And then after that, I sat down and thought, okay, what other things has our studio done? And I want to show them to you. So one thing that I really, really like is the Marketeers Discord that I have put together in the last 2 years. This is basically a role-based Discord. So if you have released at least one game or have run a crowdfunding campaign or are a marketing expert in general, you're happy to come join. I basically wanted to have a place where I can talk to devs that have a little bit more experience, because if you go to the public Facebook groups, for example, usually like the level is quite low. And if you have a detailed question on how the Steam backend works, usually it's hard to get an answer. So that is why I really wanted to make this Discord. So if you already have a game out there, let me know. Happy to add you. And how it works is basically you can choose your roles. So if you're very good with Instagram, you grab that role, or you're very, very good with, you know, a lot about early access. And then people can just tag, for example, the Kickstarter role, and everybody who is tagged with Kickstarter gets a ping. And so you usually get your answer very quickly. But you can also build up your own community with other developers and just make sure you get a lot of easy and quick communication going if you have any kind of problem, need help with it. Because it's usually a lot quicker this way than writing to any QA teams or so for a console, for example. Then on Steam, you can customize your page to include other games. So this can either be other games that you've made or an upcoming game that you're working on, or you can exchange this space with some of your friends. So if you and your friend have, or another dev you just met, have a very similar game, then you can put your games on each other's Steam page. And this can be quite effective too. Then, of course, there are bundles. This is kind of similar to themed sales, right? But you can not only do it in terms of a sale, but you can also put together a bundle with maybe 2 or 3 other games. And you can also try to get a featuring for your bundle if it, for example, has a specific topic that fits to a specific holiday. Or you can try to pitch a bundle to Humble Bundle, for example. They also regularly do themed bundles. And another bundle idea, this was from the Away Kickstarter, also some fellow nature game related developers. And they just asked us if we would sell them a few hundred copies of our game Niche, so that they could include it in a bundle reward for their Kickstarter campaign, which is a win-win situation. We get to sell some keys and they get to sell like a package as a reward and make more money from it than they gave us for the keys, right? Or you could do loyalty discounts or cross-promotion announcements on Steam. So in the Steam backend, you can send out Steam events, right? And there is one specific category that you can use for cross-promotion announcements. So you can basically give all your fellow devs a shout out if their game is in some way related to yours, and maybe they will do the same for you. Or you could do loyalty discounts, where if I own Beetle Uprising, I will get 20% off of our game Niche during a 3-week window or so. There used to be coupon deals, which was the alternative to loyalty discounts, which was way cooler, because there you actually got a coupon into your Steam inventory, and so you got aware of the game. Whereas with loyalty discounts, you just get a discount, but you don't really know why. So this maybe needs some more work before it's really good and well to use. Or maybe at some points they will bring back coupon deals, which I would greatly appreciate because I thought they were very useful. Then another thing that we did with our game Niche is putting together a themed game website and build up a community around nature games. So this was basically me with 20 or so other devs, and we just opened up a website together and opened up a Slack group together where we communicated and tried to organize things such as the nature game sale, or just give each other advice in general. Because if you have like a very similar community, this can really benefit you a lot. we had also like 3 of us had a Kickstarter campaign at the same time, and then we heavily cross-promoted each other. And it was just so easy to communicate because you already knew the people. And then whenever somebody said, hey, I really like your game, I could just say, hey, if you like nature games, you could check out all the other games here on this website as well. So that was our examples. But the people from the survey also had some other ideas that weren't so popular as the first 4, because it seemed that pretty much everybody seemed to do the first 4. But here are some other ideas that also popped up and that I liked and that are done sometimes. So you could put characters from another game into your game. You could try to organize a shared booth at events. If a booth is pretty expensive for you, or you don't have time to be there the whole time, maybe you can just switch one day you, one day me, or you can have a themed booth also. There's some big examples like the Indie Arena booth or the Indie Mega booth. You could share your YouTuber, Twitch, or press emails that you gathered for your press release when your game came out, because they will be very useful if somebody is making a game with a similar topic. Or also scammer lists. If you saw that, okay, these people just want to steal my keys, you could let other people know about that. You could organize a social media event together, such as Pitch a Game or Love Indies, that basically tries to shine more light on indie games. You could open up shared communities. So one of my favorites lately is wholesome games, where they just post about all kinds of wholesome games. You could do that for space games. And if you build up a big audience around, especially if your game isn't released yet and you kind of have too much time, don't know what to do with your marketing energy, basically, because you cannot really show a lot of your game yet, you could grab some other developers and have something like wholesome games, prepare everybody, and then when your game is coming out, you already have a big following of people who like similar games to yours. Or yeah, you could also do talent sharing between teams. So for example, we have one Swiss team that we often do this with. So I go help them with their marketing sometimes, and they do like very beautiful promotional pictures for us because they have a very good illustrator. And so we just give these things to each other without additional payment, basically. Yeah, so for everybody who hasn't done cross-promotion yet, from the developers that I asked, which was about 30%, I asked them, yeah, why not? And some of them said, yeah, I've never thought about it. And others said, yeah, I couldn't really find any suitable partner to do it with. But luckily, the first one doesn't apply to you anymore, because now you know a lot about cross-promotion. And I'm sure since you're attending this event, you will have some great meetings and you will get to catch up with some devs around here. So I'm sure you will be able to find somebody who's interested in doing cross-promotion with you. Best of luck, and thank you.
Oh, wow.
Wow. All the information.
That was awesome. Really, a lot of information just blew my mind. Yes. So, thank you, Philomena. That was really awesome, and thanks for sharing your experience, all these life hacks, all these ideas, and personally, me as one of the creator of the Kickstarter board game, successful Kickstarter board game, I'm highly interested in joining your Discord marketer server.
Please come. Yeah.
And wow, I honestly believe that crop promotion shutout is the best way for indie developers to earn some exposure, to earn some attention, to grow, and your ideas, your maybe a compressed experience in just one session. That is often things to learn, often things to share. And I believe a lot of our audience, we have a lot of awesome feedbacks. Thank you. Sure. Great.
Thanks.
I believe we will have a lot of questions in Q&A session, but honestly, we don't have much time. So I have a question for you. Do you have some kind of not successful experience in terms of collaboration. We have a lot of great shoutouts. We had a lot of great experience. We had cool shoutouts from the Kickstarter, I know, from the bundles, but any kind of bad shoutouts, could you share it, please?
I mean, yeah, most of the shout outs that you will do will not be that successful. So I've maybe had like 3 or 4 times where it really went viral, but in total, I'm sure I did like 100 or something. So chances aren't always that high. It also always depends on what other posts are currently live. So yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think as long as you don't invest too much time in it, it's also not a loss. And you, with every post you make, you learn a little bit more about the platform also, right? So
yeah, I believe every shout out is worth it.
Yeah, every shout out is a chance, right? You never know
chance
exactly
to go viral
beforehand. Yes,
so
exactly.